I think I'm going to avoid the temptation to forecast on the ratings agencies. I think that we have sent a consistent message to the rating agencies, and the consistent message has been that the fiscal numbers will hold. That is our commitment as government. We have shown them and gone through in great details with them, those who have met with them, that we have programs in government which are already bringing improvements in our economic performance, and which are addressing the possibilities of a better growth performance next year than last year. And then on the political stability, there's been a lot of interactions on that to show why we are a robust democracy in this country. Nonetheless, we have stable institutions, a stable and functioning government in place. So, we wait and see how the rating agencies have responded to those messages which we've given. Then let me just say, I think it is important to understand the motivation behind the changes in the law on fronting, which the Commissioner is established to deal with. Basically, fronting was always something which could be dealt with under the common law offence of fraud. Essentially, if you're engaged in fronting as a company that's involved in fronting, you're trying to present yourself as more empowered than you actually are, and you're trying to do this because you're hoping to get some regulatory benefit, access to an incentive or a license or whatever it may be from government, and present yourself as eligible when you're not. That's what you're trying to do. So that's a form of fraud. But the difficulty has been that it is dealing with it in this way has been quite difficult. And so what was introduced in the new law was a statutory definition of fronting, which is quite complex, and also a series of potential remedies, which could, in the worst case, involve criminal cases, because fraud is a criminal action. So that was what the motivation was about, to try to create the possibility of dealing with these practices much more in a much more robust way. And I think that when we discussed all of this in even the previous council as well, when we introduced the amendments, we came up with a view that what we were dealing with was fronting which was more complex than the stereotypes that I think everyone is aware of. We do still find cases of people who are not really exercising any management or leadership role in the company, but being put forward as though they were. We still find a number of cases like that, but also can do with the way in which the contracts are structured, that people think that they're going to get into management and leadership positions, only to find that the small print and what they've signed on to doesn't deliver what they expected it to be. Very often the deals are with borrowed money. We find that there are cases where people do not receive any dividends until they've paid back the loan, and yet the only way they can pay back the loan is to get a dividend from it. So there are all sorts of cases, all sorts of issues that have come up, and that's why the Commission is in place, and that's why the Commissioner is trying to find workable ways of addressing all of the issues that are up there. I think it's got to do with what Zodwa and Tuli, and also what the chairperson of the Commission, Madam Kumalo, was saying as well, that there is in the economy of South Africa many more black people that are running small enterprises of one sort or another, that need a boost by having a structured relationship with not just government and government procurement, although that can be part of the story, but also with the private sector. So that if larger companies involved in the private sector are involved in relationships with smaller companies as suppliers, or as people that are doing adding value to some of their products or something like that, that can be upstream or downstream, that can be a boost to ownership and empowerment as well. And so I think that that's what we're looking at. And I'll just give a really practical example, and that is that the motor companies are now going to have to start hitting a score on the scorecards if they're going to receive the benefits under the automotive investment scheme. We'll be making that clear to them. And one of them, Volkswagen, with the support of some of the other OEMs, they organized a conference and an exhibition of potential black supply companies so that they could identify people that they could work with. I think that's the sort of thing that we want to stimulate and encourage so that we can find that in, for example, component manufacturing, an emerging black-owned company becoming a competitive automaker, maybe that's something for the future. But right now, the possibility does exist of becoming a component manufacturer, and also for the rail program, which is another, the emphasis on the iPad, that we in fact launched the current version of iPad in a black-owned company that is producing components for railway wagons and locomotives. So I think that's what we're looking for in that particular part of the scorecard as well. To try to encourage that, and then the Black Industrialist program. Well, its rationale is that if we look at the levels of empowerment in the sectors of the economy that need to be leading and diversification, and I've just been given a sight of the figures, the trade figures for April. And if you look at the trade figures for April against the market expectation,